Alright, here we go again, playing Wounded Waters Bleeding against HLC, Habsburg Livestock. We are playing the cross-healing build that starts in Roiling and goes into Waters Renew. So let's just hop into it and see what our first explorer is. That's kind of the one I hope for, honestly. So let's look at our miners first. So my strategy for most regular adversaries, and I count HLC amongst the more regular adversaries, is to just pick cards that are good turns 2, 3, 4, and then just bank on the spirit being strong enough turn 5 plus innately. So I don't really care if they have water or animal. Water plus animal is pretty good though. This on the other hand also pretty good. So Infested Aquifers has better elements, and this has better effect. I'm probably, no matter what happens, going to Boon of Corrupted Blood here. Can I use Elusive Ambushes next turn to prevent a build? 100%? No, actually not. I could 100% use it next turn to prevent a blight if I wanted to. Maybe that is good enough. Let's pick that. Am I? Is that right? Yeah, that's right. So we play Boon of Corrupted Blood here. We have to move out of land 5 since we're not gonna save it, I don't think. I'm gonna save land 1 instead. And the reason for that is that it gives us a 2/3 chance of a really sweet play for the follow-up turn. So we Boon of Corrupted Blood that land. We flip and ignore an event. It's map makers, that is fine. We build a town in land 5. And then we gather from land 2. There's the only adjacent town, so I don't really have a choice. And then I gather out of 7 because I could not get onto getting these presences out of there. And we hope for either a wetland or a Sands Explorer, and we get mountain. I am sad now. So in slow I have 2 options. One of them is to either play Sanguinary Taint on one of those lands regardless. And that kind of ensures that land 1 trades and thus town dies. The other is to kill the explorer in land 3. I think what we will do here is we are going to use Sanguinary Taint for 1 fear, pushing that Dahan into there. And the reason for that is that this land actually trades well. Usually trading towns for Dahan doesn't work with HLC, because almost all lands have adjacent towns. So if your land has a town and then there's an adjacent town, you do 4 damage, and undefended, that just kills all your Dahan, or enough of them anyway. But there are no adjacent towns here, so that line actually works. This is crazy. Those are some very good cards, I would say. I'm thinking I'm playing Elusive Ambushes here. I want water on the 2nd turn so I can go animal the 3rd turn. I tend to prefer that. I also would like to draft an animal card because I want to hit... I want to have enough animal turns 3 and 4 for maximum of my innate. So Nature's Resilience is the best card here for sure. So I'm thinking maybe we use that. It's just a bit unclear that we're gonna have a lot of Dahan there. So currently I'm looking at... I think that is something that happens regardless, right? Okay, so with our presences and blight being in that locations, we're going to go up to 3 or 4 blight. It depends on whether or not we draw a plus defend event at land 1. And I'm gonna kill that with Elusive, I think. So the only thing that happens is that they build 2 towns there, and then they gather and they will do something like 11 damage, right? It'll be 4 towns in the land and then a town adjacent for 11 damage in total. So I think I'll just take that. There seems no point in playing Nature Sicilians there. But I can probably use Nature Sicilians to turn after. And out of all of these cards, it's just, I feel the best card in almost all circumstances. So I'll just take that. It also has Plant, which in some very niche scenarios could be useful here. Alright. Then we Elusive Ambushes this Explorer. I'm going for town minimizing. Not as important against HLC as against France, but it's still pretty good. So that's interesting. So usually what you do here is you go Numinous Crisis topside. And the reason for that is that it tends to be insanely strong to get that much blight. And we do actually have careful defense, so we're not gonna take that blight. But we would be flipping the blight card and then take a blight in turn in land 5, and then also still have land 4 to deal with. And land 4 will be ravaging for 11 damage, as I mentioned last turn. I could be able to solve that actually. If I threw everything I had on that, I could. That draws out 2 damage and this defends the rest. Or I could just remove a blight on somewhere else. It's kind of dangerous to flip the blight card when you know that you're taking at least 2 more blight, and there's still land 3 left, right? It's gonna, let me think about the gathering. It's gonna first a turn into here, then a turn into there. It seems really hard. Since I'm gonna take a bunch of blight anyway, I really don't want to take top. But taking bottom also seems illegal, right? I don't have 3 energy to pay. I could forget 2 power cards, honestly. Can I forget from play? Yes. I cannot return my presence in my tracks. So I think the lowest cost option here is maybe, perhaps, forgetting Elusive Ambushes and Boon of Corrupted Blood here. I lose my innate for slow, which honestly, in most cases that would have prevented a build, so that's kind of sad. But it's acceptable. I think if it's like 1 turn later or so, then I think I can take Numinous Crisis, but on this specific turn, I just don't think I can. It cost me 3 blight, and I know that I'm gonna take at least 2 more, and if I flip a 3 blight per player card and take 2 more blight and then draw a bad event, I'm just instantly dead. And I just... terrible timing. I'll forget these 2 cards. Then we get Dahan Defend here, which fine by me. And also I get 1 more blight. So I should be taking blight liberally now, I feel. Since I bought all that extra blight pretty expensive, with at high cost. And I get 1 fear from having a disease on my board, and I don't kill a Dahan because there aren't any in there. Okay, that's ravaged. This land is defended. Now the beauty of this land is that it would have solved itself whether or not we draw the Dahan defend. This way it solves itself without blighting, but the other option would have been blighting and then solving itself. This is 7 damage, so it is not actually lost condition. Then land 4 builds 2 towns. Then I gather this one into here and this one into here. I don't have many towns on the board, but sadly they're all in the lands at ravage. Okay. If I draw mountain here, I might take a bit more blight. And that is one of the other reasons I just don't think I can go Numinous Crisis top there. Maybe it's fine in most explorers, but if I draw a back-to-back mountain, I don't know how I would solve that without dying to blight. Alright, so you have to place a lost condition, an escalation town. I would like to place it so it cannot be gathered from land 6, but there frankly isn't any land that allows that. So I'll just place it in land 2, I suppose. And also there's not a lot of point in trying to... That's not true. So if you can make it so that a land doesn't have a chase in town, then that's very valuable against HLC. But trying to pocket in the long term doesn't work because you get this card here, and that just destroys your pocket. So we're in slow, we don't have anything, we press time passes. We could have prevented, if we still had our inert, it would have prevented a build here. Too bad. So we're turn 3 now, which means we get Roiling Waters online, which is good. We want to go animal for that, we have to. Mesmerized Tranquility is a great card, it's also land 3. Where does it gather into? Gather into 7 or 6. Too bad. So the way you usually solve that land with Mesmerize is that you Mesmerize land 3, and then doesn't have a chase on towns, and it basically trades with the town taking 2 damage and the Han and the land only taking 1. And then you gather it into a land with blight, and then it dies. I guess I could do that. There's a risk though. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think I see the line of play that I have to go for here. And that is take Mesmerize. I guess I could also Nature's Resilience, but I think I'd rather have that for the turn after. I move this presence into here, is that correct? Yeah. I have to gather this blight. And then I Mesmerize Tranquility this land. So what happens now is that if this land... Actually, if I draw plus damage in this land blights, then it cascades, but it cascades into land 5. If I hadn't drawn that blight, then it would have maybe cascaded for more. So... And then I have another card, and I want it to be animal. It's gonna be these 2, right? Ideally, I would print a build here, but I don't have quick damage. So I'd have to clear it after the fact. I think Bloodwater and Bloodlust is good. You can kill an explorer in a land and then you draw to the water's edge or something after. I have to water into animal. That is at least perfect. That is playing for the strongest turn 3 we could have. And then we Mesmerize Tranquility that land, so it's isolated and all invaders do -1 damage. -1 damage. Here we just take loss condition, I don't care. 1 loss condition is fine. Investigations of dangers. Add 1 explorer to land without invaders or Dahan. I don't have any such lands, so I don't add invaders. Each beast destroys 1 explorer. I'll take that. Each spirit with at least 3 Dahan among their lands may use a slow power now. Yeah, I moved out of here, so I no longer have 3 among my lands, but I mean, that's fine. It's not a plus damage event, so everything is good. We ravage. We start with land 3. What happens is, the land takes a damage, the land takes a damage, then the town dies in return. Land 4, just loss conditions for exactly 8 damage. I could have prevented it by playing something like Nature's Resilience or, well, draw to the water's edge, but I'm fine with that. Mark it as loss condition. And then they build in 6 and then 7. And then they both gather from here, gather from there. Sadly was unavoidable. We're at 4 blight on the board, which means this is isolated, so it doesn't explore. This explores. And I have to add 1 more turn. Probably to land 1, because it's the furthest away from these lands, and they're the ones that are going to come out next. So one thing that's pretty nice about land 3 is that it comes pre-solved, right? It didn't explore because of the isolate, and it doesn't have any adjacent town from lands that it can gather. Like it cannot get that from land 4, that's also mountain. So that land will neither build nor gather, so that's already solved. So all I need to do is take care of land 6, 7, and 4, and I'm going to be golden, and not push anything into one of these 2 lands in the meantime. I will drop this card, but I will do it after the gathering of towns, so it doesn't affect the land 3. But it means I have to city that land. That is fine. Anyway, enough about like turn 4. Let's think about the rest of turn 3. So one idea was to Bloodwater and Bloodlust one of these lands, and then gather the towns out next turn. I also have Nature's Sicilians next turn, which I can and probably will use on land 6 because it has the Han. So, or another option would be to move the Dahan, huh? I would like to actually use Bloodwater and Bloodlust on land 4. As I said, I want to reduce town count, and every land that double builds towns seems kind of bad. So I think I'll just start with that, and hopefully I won't switch my mind in the meantime. Kill that Explorer, prevent more town builds. It's good. And then I have either Swell and Spill level 2 or Sanguinary Taint level 2. But Swell and Spill level 2 I could solve land 6 and push one down into here as well. And then I could still use Sanguinary Taint to kill one more town. Maybe that wouldn't be terrible. I'd push a lot of towns into here then. And if that comes up next, which has a 2/3 chance of happening, then that would be kind of awkward. I also still have that, right? I just need to kill one of the explorers in here. I could also use Sword and Spell, push those two Dahan into there, killing that explorer, then draw to the water's edge, solves that land. That seems not helpful enough, right? So many lines of play. I would like to kill some stuff too. So one other option is that I push a bit of stuff into here and then push them back and defend there, and yeah, that seems maybe not bad. Killing this explorer for later, killing a town and a Dahanen, town and explorer for here, pushing that back, defending that. Yeah, that seems good. Okay, I think I found a line of play that I like, and that is push into here and push into here, which I guess we don't push into there, because if we do that, then it costs us a Dahan next turn. Yeah. So I guess just push that into here using Swell and Spill level 1. That just also seems not that great. Kill that. Oh, yeah, okay, that works. Do 1 damage to that town. Then we switch that to Animal, then we use Sanguinary Taint. 1 Fear, add a Beast, do 3 damage, which now kills both towns, and pushes that back into here, killing that Explorer. And this is still a land that will Ravage, but that is fine. Yeah, that was not avoidable, or at least I don't want to spend any more time in finding the correct lines of play. Okay, then we at turn 3. I'll go for 3 plays, as basically always. So, where would I like to have Blight? I would like to have Blight in here. I'd probably like to have that Blight in there. Do I have... Yeah, I do have Sacred Side powers. Again, I'm on 2 alert to water and 2 animals, which is perfect. I have to split or break the tie in favor of water this turn. 3 energy for taking growth option 3. Also get to place one of my destroyed presences. Let's place it here in case I need to draw Blight into there to help with destroying next turn. I mean, that are my cards, right? I'm not gonna get any others, so I might as well just flip and see what I can do in quick. So my thinking was that I gather these two into here. The issue is I'm not sure if that is perfect, because I mean, I'm okay with gambling that land. It might blight, it might not blight. If it blights, then it saves us a town, I suppose. But I'd kind of like these towns to die. So I would like to defend this for 6. Using Nature's Resilience. And what do I do then with Torture the Water's Edge? I don't know. I could gather into here. Is that good? Maybe it is actually, because wetlands already come up. And this land has a high chance of coming up. Which, if it just explores into, then that'll be better. Yeah, I think that is better. It's not great use of Torture the Water's Edge. You rarely have great uses of that when you're going for roiling, because you don't even get the downgrades. But it has the right elements, right? Let's look at the event. Seeking the interior? No, local diaspora. I have to choose either land 4 or land 6 and push as much stuff as I can out of there. If I push from land 4, then I have to push into land 7 and we blight, which we're doing anyway. So maybe that's not so bad. This then goes up to 8 damage though. Currently it's not at 8 damage. That is something else, right? This is currently... I mean, I could push Dahan. Would not be that helpful. I have a fear cut. So this is currently on 6 damage because there's no Jason towns. And if I push my towns out of here, let's say, then I now have a Jason towns to there. So it's now at 8 damage. And that is a direct consequence of drawing to the water's edge, by the way. If I had just not used it at all, then this would be the board state. And on this board state, this is still at 6 damage. But I was like, yeah, I don't see the issue with that. Let's just do it. And then, of course, I draw local diaspora. So the other option is that I pull out of here, push out of here. And I can push into wherever I want to. Push like here and here and here or whatnot. And the only thing I lose is that I kill 0 towns. Which, you know, I absolutely hate. But what am I gonna do? Considering the circumstances, it's the less bad outcome. Alright, then Beast Sprawl at least is 3 fear, 2 for here and 1 for here. I could have gambled, right? I could have just pushed out of here and then gambled on one of the fear cards saving land 6. It's not even that unlikely. It was at 6 defend against 8, but I don't want to risk it with the Blight Cascade. And then forsake the barren land. On each board, push to Dahan from a land with Blight to a land without Blight. I don't want them out of here. I guess now maybe I want to have them out of there. Land 4 is gonna come up next, so maybe I'll just gather them into here so they're closer to land 4. Or I actually could push into here, although they would die partially. There's a chance that pushing a Dahan into here saves that land due to one of the fear cards. I think I can risk that. I will start producing Dahan next turn. Even if the Dahan dies in here, then I still have 2 Dahan adjacent to land 4, which is all I need. Token defend. So that land is saved. It ravages for 3, 1 for the Explorer and 2 for adjacent towns, and it's now defend 3 from tokens. And Strife. So I could have saved land 6, but I wasn't gonna risk it. I get to strive a land with Beast or adjacent to Beast. I'll strive a town in here, since it's going to become relevant. Alright, land 7. This dies in Ravage. Nothing happens in here, sadly. They don't build... Yeah, that is the other thing, of course. That now they can gather a town into there because I had to push out of land 6. It was so nicely served, the land, and now it's just unsolved. Nothing to be done. And then this does not build. And also not gather because it doesn't have any adjacent towns. And then it's coastal. And we draw the reminder card. We have to place the city in land 1. Because land 3 is gonna blight. Or well, ravage. And then we have to place 3 towns inland and the 3 lands with the fewest towns, so there's only these lands. Don't really have a choice here for that card. And we don't get any escalation towns anyway. Alright, and now we are in slow. We have Wreck with Pain and Grief. We have Swell and Spill. We have Sanguinary Taint. I have a couple of options. So I could Sanguinary Taint out of land 3. Or I could Wreck with Pain and Grief out of that land. I think Sanguinary Taint looks good here. So let's just do that. Again, we go up to Animal. And we can do that while healing water because we only chose our element in slow. So that lets me... Actually, I think this is wrong. So let's just undo that for a second. And the reason it's wrong is that Sanguinary Taint is the only power I have that can deal with cities, and I have a couple of cities in relevant lands. Maybe I should use it on a city instead of on a town where I also have other powers that can deal with towns. So let's use Wreck with Pain and Grief instead, should deal with that. Push it into here, let's say. Is that enough? Next turn I'll kill a town, I'll replace a town, and then I'll... Yeah, that seems good. Alright, that land is solved. Then in here I'll probably use Sanguinary Taint on that. One Fear the Beast and delete that town and push that into here, killing that Explorer. Could also push into here maybe if I wanted to. I don't think I'm gonna get the city. No, I don't see it. And then I still have a little bit. Yeah, I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep that Explorer here and I'll ping that. And then I'll gather this into here and kill that. -1 town on the board, right? Minimize town count. Also, my sacred site still lives. I kinda expected it to die. But with it being like that, I could, in theory, Nature's Resilience. But I don't need to. Gain a Minor. Yeah, I don't really want any of these. I'll take Call to Trade for the... What is it? For the good elements, but in terms of effect, it's not what I need, I don't think. So for land 4, all I need really is my Water's Renew Knight. Heal water this turn. If I get that at full strength, then it solves that land. I could also Nature's Resilience, and then I don't need to Water's Renew at full strength. Does that help me with my other lands? I think I would like to play Draw to the... Sorry, Wreck with Pain and Grief. I could also draw to the Water's Edge. Pull that out of there. That seems kind of good actually. So they don't build another city in land 1, and I don't like cities because I'm not good at dealing with them now that I've lost access to Sanguinary Taint. I mean, I'm still okay with that, but I mean, I'm not great. Play these cards next, and then next turn I'll play these two and draw to the Water's Edge, and the turn after I'll probably Reclaim or something. Alright. So, with these cards I hit the Water's Renew Innate on full strength. I'll gather these two, which does 1 damage, add a beast which does 1 damage, which kills a town. And then I'll replace this town with a Tahan. And then I'll defend for 3 in that land, just in case I draw a Strive Ignore event. And that land is solved. Then I have draw to the Water's Edge, and I'm drawing into land 2. Which has the advantage of now building a town here instead of a city. And that's going to be easier to solve in slow. So let's hope for a better event than last term. We are still terror level 1. Eager Explorers. We get extra builds. No, we get extra Explorers after build actions. I think I'm okay with that, but have it here, reminder. Beast, Chase of Homesteaders. I can push stuff from lands with Beast. Just push that into here. Have less towns on the board, right? Principled. And then 2 fear per land with Dahan and cities. I don't have any, sadly. Alright, each player removes a town or an explorer from a land with beast. I'll use this one. That was pretty nice, honestly. We barely have any towns left on the board. And then buildings do less damage and they don't heal. I probably forget the heal, but you know. Then there's Ravage. Nothing happens here as of that. It dies. Alright, this is after the first successful build. They don't build here, they don't build here, they don't build here. They don't have any successful builds, so there's not any explorer spawn at all. But they will gather. In land 1 they gather out of land 8. In land 2 they gather from here, and then they gather here. And that's literally all the towns now. And then we flip into jungle. Of course, I mean, in theory this board is as pocketed as can be, but as is often the case, even if it's as pocketed as can be, it still get all the explorers. And I have to place a town because I'm still at 3 blight. It wouldn't have been bad to take one more blight sometime, but it just kind of didn't happen. I could place it in land 8, so land 5 doesn't have anything, but I could also have it in land 4. But land 4 is my city killing land, which I can't do anyway, right? No, I don't want it in land 5. Funny, I could kill all 3 explorers by pushing out of here. If I place the town in land 7, then it doesn't land adjacency damage to any of these. I guess we'll do that. Who knows? Alright, I have Bloodwater and Bloodlust. I have Wreck with Pain and Grief. It seems that next turn I'm going to play Draw to the Water's Edge, so I don't need to take care of that. I'll gather that into land 2 next turn. I can use... Probably that looks like a good Swell and Spell land, right? But I also could Swell and Spell that. Man, I have so many good options. Let's wreck these 2 into here. Let me check actually. That land's starting to get pretty built up. Well, I am going to play Mesmerized. So it's basically only 4 damage, 5. Yeah, I think that is fine. And also don't have any, yeah, that seems okay. So that was Wreck with Pain and Grief. Then I've already drawn to the Water's Edge. I'll Swell and Spell. 1 Fear. 1, 2, 3, 4. Killing these 3. And actually, I could do something else. I can push these 2 into here. Killing that. That leaves 1, maybe 2. Yeah, that leaves 2 explorers alive in there. And then I'll use... What's the name? Bloodwater and Bloodlust on that. And that I think is even better. I don't have any idea what I use Draw to the Water's Edge on now. Could just play these cards if I wanted to. They kind of do everything I need, right? Maybe not enough damage, huh? But if I set that to water, I hit level 2 of Water's Renew, which kills a town in here and defense for 3, and then together with this and that, I have more than enough defend to defend that land. What do I use Courted Raid on then? Really no idea. Probably into land 5, which means I have to gather the town, I guess. And the alternative is that I don't play Nature's Sicilians. Oh, I'll have to count now. That is the other option. And if I do that, then I hit full strength of Water's Renew. But I probably do that then, and then that. So I'll have all the towns in there. And then I'll use Mesmerized for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. And then we kill a town down to 5 damage, and then we replace a city probably, and then down to 3 damage against 3 defend. I guess I'll do that then. Alright, that means I open this. I'll place it, say, in here in case I Need a sacred site here next turn. I'll just take 3 energy, so I can reclaim next turn without having to worry about energy. I probably don't have to anyway, but you know, and I get to add another presence then. Alright, we cult right into here, from land 4 into land 5, kills the explorer, because you know, gathering the does damage for roiling, and then it gathers a town, it gathers this town. Then I use Draw to the Water's Edge from land 2, gather the town into here. Then I mesmerize that land, get a reminder token, and then we'll gather Dahan into here, we'll gather this Dahan, we gather this Dahan. That's 1 damage from gathering the Dahan, 1 damage from the beast it places, kill that town. Then replace that city with the Dahan and defend for 3. And together with mesmerized tranquility, this land now does 3 damage and defends for 3. Yeah, this did not come into effect at all, as always. Life balance tilts. Top side is probably instantly game winning, but bottom side probably really bad for me. So top side, remove animal, I don't care, add a disease, sure, who cares. Discard the top miner if it's fast, then add a blight. I would not flip into blighted, so that's fine. Invaders and Dahan have minus health. That has to be good, right? I only have 1 land, so I'm gonna just take top. So let's remove this beast. Let's flip that, and it's slow, so I don't even add a blight. And then all invaders have -1 health. And then 1,000 small struggles, but that only affects lands with boards with 4 of your Dahan, and I have like 7 or so. 8. Dahan reclaim fishing grounds. Each player chooses a different coastline with Dahan, and each 1 damage per Dahan. This is funny because it wins the game right up if I want to. I'm gonna just kill these 3. I'm going for the kill all enemies victory. Alright, and then we ravage. And this is well defended, so they all just die. Good game. Turn 6 invader phase win. Pretty nice, I have to say. I think in terms of luck, I'm not sure, it felt the normal amount of luck. I was pretty happy with that play where turn 1 we had 2 Dahan in there, and then we still managed to prevent that build in turn into that land. I think the worst thing that could have happened was back-to-back mountain. In the end, the Numinous Crisis event having to forget 2 cards was not all that bad. Yeah, pretty clean. I think the overall strategy really paid off. That is, prevent town builds wherever you can if it means you take a bit of damage because, or a bit of blight because they still gather towns and they still do damage. That is fine. If you can manage to set up ravages or Dahan traits or anything so that towns die in ravage, that is just really good. And the adversary is just really, and if you have enough blight and you can move it, then killing towns really is not that hard. So yeah, I have to say, I felt pretty good, felt surely better than going Serene Waters into Waters Renew here. And yeah, good game.